So thank you so much for the opportunity to introduce the carbon community, and I'll put some info in the chat afterwards for anyone who wants to follow us. So we're a relatively new charity. We're just 18 months old, and Val has actually visited us, so she can talk about her experience afterwards. And we have a site in Carmarthenshire, in Kinghordy, just outside Clondubfrey. I'll apologize for any mispronunciations. I am working to improve every day. The mission of our organization is to create forests and accelerate carbon removal with breakthrough science. Our main project has been to, so this is a picture of where we are, just in Kinghordy, just outside Clondubfrey. So it's a stunning view when the sun shines. It's very cold when it's raining and windy. And in May 2021, we launched a landmark carbon study. And in many ways, the organization was set up. There's a lot of tree planting charities, as we all know, but the organization was fundamentally set up to help accelerate the scientific side. So conversations with scientists had said that there's really not enough field level trials to help build the carbon models that we all need to understand what's happening. And in particular in trees, there's not enough trials in trees and soil in sort of afforestation or reforestation projects to really help us build the models. So in May 2021, we launched a large-scale carbon study to understand how to accelerate carbon sequestration in trees and soil. This is a picture from before the study went in the ground. These are one of the center posts of one of the cells of the study. And I'll talk a little bit about the study just so you can get a flavor for what we do, and then I'll talk a little bit about what we've had volunteers doing out on the site from some of the universities in Wales and some of our other local volunteers. So the study is looking at trees together with two nature-based solutions, which haven't been previously deployed at scale. It's a large study. It has 72 test cells. This is just to give you a bit of a sense of the scale, and each, there's 25,000, just over 25,000 trees that are involved in the study. What we've been doing is looking at, we leave a control. So in all of our test groups, there's the 72 cells are divided in 8 blocks. So we are going to be following an area of grassland, a control in each, where we're watching the carbon over time and what naturally regenerates, what plants are natural regeneration. So there's lots of talk on the importance of natural regeneration. So we'll really be able to study the carbon modeling above and below ground in those areas. And then we've looked at 2 types of trees. So the first type is a set of native broadleaf trees, native to the local area. And we're also looking at Sitka spruce, which is used in commercial forestry, which will give us a baseline to other carbon modeling. So normally we would only plant native broadleaf in forest creation, but we feel for the purposes of the study, we've got to have both sides for the purposes of modeling. So the 2 different types of treatments that have been done. The first is what we call soil inoculation. So if you're planting a tree on a piece of grassland, the microbes in the soil, the fungi, will not necessarily be appropriate to help accelerate the tree growth. So we have carefully selected, with landowners' permission, some areas of healthy forest where for a healthy broadleaf for the broadleaf and healthy conifer for the conifer, where we've put a little 100-gram scoop into the tree planting hole when the tree is planted. And the idea is that you're introducing the community that can help accelerate and hopefully help the tree survive. I don't know if anyone's aware of this, but a lot of large-scale tree planting, a lot of trees die after the first year. So this is hopefully going to help with tree survival and tree growth. So we'll be studying that, and we've done that soil inoculation for both the conifer and the broadleaf planting. We also have done another group of test cells where we applied basalt before everything was planted. So obviously in any major planting project, you're disrupting the soil. So you're actually releasing carbon, which is not ideal. However, crushed basalt, the basalt here comes from bilth wells. It's sort of leftover, sort of small crushed particles from basalt mining that would be happening for other purposes. And so we've taken that and we've applied it to the soil before the planting was done. And there's two purposes for that. The first purpose is that actually, as the rock breaks down, it literally takes carbon from the air and forms calcium carbonate, which will eventually be exported through the water systems to the oceans. We've had it tested. It's not even detectable, the amount that we've put down. But what that will do is we'll be seeing how much carbon is pulled into the soil. And what does that do in terms of making the first year of tree planting positive from a carbon sequestration perspective? Otherwise, usually the first year of tree planting, you're releasing carbon. So hopefully we can smooth that out. And the other thing that it will do is also release nutrients for the trees. So we've tested the soil inoculation and the basalt, and then obviously we're going to then look at the two combined together to see if there's a 1 + 1 = 3 effect on the trees. So with all of that said, so there's 9 test cells. There's the control, there's the 2 types of trees on their own, the 2 types of trees with the soil inoculation, the 2 types of trees with the basalt, and the 2 types of trees with the combination of everything put together. And we were measuring this over time, over a very long period of time is the ideal. Our current research grant will run for 2 years. And we've had scientists out on the site where they are starting to take measurements of what's underground in the soil. So they're taking the soil samples and taking water samples, which get tested in labs. And we've also had some amazing volunteers on site helping us measure the trees. So in each one of the test cells, we're measuring 100 trees where we're photographing the tree, we're measuring the girth of the tree, we're measuring the height of the tree, we're taking sort of a quick look on whether the tree is healthy, looking at survival rates. And we'll be watching those trees over time to help build the overall modeling. So there's a lot of measurements happening both below and above the ground. This is just an example. I think this was taken when the trees were first planted. I think that's a rowan. So all of the trees that we're tracking are tagged with an individual barcode. And we've had volunteers out on site helping do those measurements and take those photographs to upload them to the database. Our volunteers it's a small group. We're starting to build a little bit by word of mouth. So we have some very loyal local volunteers, some of whom are coming back to start be supervisors next week. Next week we have 25 master's students from Swansea coming, and some of our local volunteers who have now been so many times, they're now supervisors, are going to come help us with the supervising of them. We also have had a lot of return volunteers from students at the university level. And these are students who, because of COVID, they have not been able to get any field experience. So no sort of practical experience. We did a virtual field trip with the geography department at Swansea in April when students still couldn't travel. But we have had a number of open volunteer sessions in July, in September, and again in October. And we've got a number of students from both Swansea and Bangor who are interested in this specific type, and actually a group of students from Bath as well, who are just interested. They want to get this kind of hands-on experience, and they are happy to help come and help us measure the trees. Our site is beautiful. It's lovely when the sun shines, but our facilities are very basic, and we're hoping to have a barn up by the end of the year. But over time, we're hoping to be able to welcome school groups and things like that. We just haven't been able to do that yet because we're walking before we run in terms of our facilities. So and that's a bit of a picture of the overall site, just to give you a sense of I just think it gives a sense of the overall complexity of what's happening with the science project. And the science project was designed and put together by the Crowther Lab, which is out of Zurich. It's a major tree lab run by Thomas Crowther, who is actually originally from Wales. Imperial College Kew and the Leverhulme Centre out of Sheffield. And we're now starting to get Swansea involved as we look at what might come next in terms of the studies that we can do on the site. So with that, I hope you've enjoyed a whistle-stop tour of what we're doing, and would love to take any questions.
I've got a question. I can't see anyone else at the moment. You know, you're looking for volunteers.
Yes.
Do they need any knowledge or experience of anything like this beforehand?
None. No, we'll do all the training. So it's physical work, and we can only take so many volunteers on the site at a time, just from a supervision perspective. But you do not need, so we will train them on tree ID, on how to use the micrometers for the measurements, all those types of things. So we provide all the training, so you don't need any experience necessary. We've just developed, I'm just going to put up on the website soon, a program for any students in the area who might do gold Duke of Edinburgh. So we really can only take, I think, 16 plus, because that type of thing lends itself well to very long-term chunks of volunteering, as opposed to the weekly kind of volunteering. So we are also open to any students in the area who are working on Duke of Edinburgh Gold.